The opinions expressed by the host and guests in this show are not necessarily the views of Children's Health Defense.
Morning. Welcome to Ph.D. TV. If you see my face, it's Friday. And if you see my guest face, it's a really, really good day. We have today Leigh-Allyn Baker, America's mom. Leigh-Allyn, I am so excited. I'm so glad that you agreed to do the show. I wish that we were doing the show under much, much better circumstances. I know that you are part of the TP USA family. And I am so sorry for the loss of such an incredible man and a good friend of yours, Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk. I honestly still can't process what has happened. This was just a bold man of God and kindness and goodness, and not only sharing the gospel, but giving other people the mic to question and ask anything that they want to ask. A true champion of freedom and free speech, a true champion of bodily autonomy. This is a man that was so pro-America, all of us. He's very pro-we the people. And the fact that he was so brutally silenced is still, I think, really hard for a lot of us to grasp. I know myself, I've just been in shock for 3 weeks. My heart rate is just high, and it's like those nervous, like my mind feels like it's okay, and my body just kind of shakes randomly. I just can't believe that he was taken from us and truly ripped from us. The bad messaging and the lies about Charlie, I'm one of these people that really has worked my whole life to think what other people think of me is none of my business. But now I see, oh, wow, what other people think of you, even, with misinformation of you, can get you publicly executed. It's a different ballgame, right? So I want to speak up for Charlie and just let people know he was an incredible man. Any clips that you've seen online of him being a racist, a homophobe, anti-trans is all a lie. I implore people to look at anybody can take an excerpt of what someone said and they can frame it to be a certain way. Like there's one that's going around. I just want to be very specific, where they said he doesn't believe in empathy. He thinks it's new age, like poppycock. That's actually not true. Someone asked him and he said, I don't like the word empathy. I prefer the word sympathy, because when we empathize, first of all, you could never actually know what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes. But if you put yourself in the shoes of someone who is traumatized, how can you think clearly and level-headedly? As a society, we are much more beneficial to show sympathy. It's those kinds of things where you go, wow, how did they just pull that from that? There's one that's playing out. They said that he was calling someone a chink. He was discussing politics with a very left-leaning political commentator named Cenk. He was saying his name.
To bend these like pretzels out of context is so duplicitous. It's so devious that they would do that. I mean, when I watched a lot of Charlie Kirk for a long time. I've been following him for a very, very long time, and I appreciate the fact that he gave people the microphone and he gave them the gift of a question. He never, never seemed like he was trying to tell people what to think, but he was showing people a different way or a better way in sharing his opinion. But I couldn't agree with you more, regarding listening to, this individual, this talent. I had no idea that he was only 31 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, which first of all is so tragic, leaving behind his wonderful wife and 2 children at such a young age. But, he was reaching out to individuals, and he wasn't just speaking. They would have a mic and they would have an open mic and they had the opportunity to speak. Maybe they didn't exactly like what Charlie said in response. But when he said it, he said it with such compassion, and he said it with such thoughtfulness. To see, the smear tactics and the things that people have said, that have been absolutely false. It's really, really disheartening. And I applaud you, because people need to listen to the whole story.
Right. They need to listen to the whole story. I mean, when I go on college campus tours that where Charlie Kirk and TPUSA have given me a mic and a platform, where others have silenced me,
Mhm.
where Disney acts like I don't exist anymore, even though they know me, they love me,
Right.
they know that this is all just ridiculous. Um,
Right.
he was able to give me a platform and say, go for it. And not once was I ever told what I could and couldn't say, how I had to behave, the subject on which I spoke on. It was just, here's a mic, go for it. He changed my life at a time where I was completely ostracized. He put me back on a stage and connected me again with a generation that loved Good Luck Charlie and watched me. And I'm so grateful for him, for Erica, for Turning Point USA. And it is awful and wrong to see them being drugged through the mud. And truthfully, this all stems from Obama in 2012. I spoke about it when you and I had met at The Truth About Cancer in an
Right.
interview that they would have us do backstage. That was just on my mind, and I spoke about it. And that clip is still going around online, where I talk about the Smith-Mundt Act, where that was amended by Barack Obama. It shows that our country, nefariously enough, propagandizes other countries and uses that to flip their elections to the way that we want it.
Right.
It's a very wartime tactic. And he amended it to where that could now be done on the United States citizen with no retribution. And that's when the news went from reporting facts only to giving an opinion and pushing agendas that are very politically divided, to keep us divided as a country. So that needs to be re-amended. And there is talk and hope that it will be named the Charlie Kirk Act. I think that would be just very appropriate.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought that out, because there's this misconception that there is this huge divide. I mean, honestly, I have people who have broken fellowship with me, and I'm sure you do too, because of an association with Donald Trump, with Make America Healthy Again, becoming a part of Make America Great Again. And there's this tacit assumption that somehow I changed, or somehow you changed.
Right.
I think we continue to go on really being the same people. Maybe part of what wasn't exposed now is exposed, in terms of thinking about health freedom or whatever. I mean, you've been talking about health freedom for a long, long time. So have I. But it is. I mean, there's not an abyss there. There's not a gulf there, and it is so manufactured.
Yes, there is so much division and strife that is manufactured, and it's done intentionally. That's part of the Marxist agenda, right? When you
Right.
infiltrate Marxism, is you culturally infiltrate a society and you divide them between black and white, between gay and straight, between man and woman, between Democrat, Republican. It's all this nefarious deed to keep us separated, so then that they can work behind scenes. And at the end of the day, it's working towards a digital ID where vaccinations will be mandatory, and it's a social credit score that they have in place in China. This isn't something that I'm making up. This is something that they're doing in China. This is something that they're implementing in England. This is people being jailed for liking a post or not liking,
Right.
or making a comment on a post. This is true totalitarian takeover, whereby the agenda by the World Economic Forum of 2030, they want to completely digitally enslave all of humanity in a one world global order that one person rules. And I'm not going down that path. I mean, that I am not going silent into that good night. And neither was Charlie. I think people really need to wake up and realize that that agenda is what is afoot.
Exactly. And it is a slippery slope to that particular agenda. I mean, you look at digital ID, you look at the digital medical records, basically your medical record on a chip, either implanted or, and all of these things. People said 20 years ago, well, that's science fiction. They're happening right now. They're absolutely happening right now. And one of the hallmarks of children's health defense is being able to give people a choice. And having the ability to express a choice. These rights are being taken away in the European Union. I mean, you're absolutely spot on with people getting jail time for what they post on social media. Oh my goodness. And just, just having an opinion that the other person finds offensive, or whoever the thought police are, I mean, whatever they define, that's the opinion you're supposed to have. And when you deviate, then that will, that will be a criminal offense. It's here, folks.
It is here. And the truth of the matter is that people don't realize that when they say they're coming after hate speech, Pam Bondi said that, and my red fire alarms went off.
Right.
No, we want free speech, all speech that includes hate speech. People have to be able to vehemently disagree with me. We are such in a war of information that I need someone who feels the exact opposite of me to be able to express themselves. You never know what kind of trap you're all falling into as a society and what narrative is being spun. We must have opposing voices in order to get to the truth, even though we may disagree. There has to be opposition. Otherwise, we're going to be force-fed propaganda until we choke on it.
Exactly. And we've seen this in the scientific world where, science is censored if it isn't, the right science, if it isn't very, very, pro-vaccine, standard, lockstep, whatever the standard of care is, that's what the doctors do. And it's been very, very stifling. And I think that, this entire administration, and the role that Charlie played, I mean, he played a major role. I think he even played a major role in connecting Maha with MAGA. Those two things. I mean, I don't want to share a backstory that I don't know completely, but Charlie was a force.
Charlie was a force, and he was absolutely, whatever medical product you choose must be your choice, not your doctors, not the government. My gosh, look at how they handle like getting in line at a DMV. You really trust these people with your medical decisions?
Right.
I mean, this is absolutely insane. When you go to a hospital, I think COVID taught us so much. I mean, you were only allowed one protocol.
Right.
And that was government mandated. And those hospitals were receiving in Tennessee up to almost $500,000 from the government to implement that protocol, which nobody returned from.
No, it was a one-way ticket.
And even if you're a pro-vaccine, that's not right. Something about that doesn't set well. So I implore people, even if you are pro-vaccine, great, that's your choice. You can have that. But you don't get to turn around and tell me I have to do what you choose.
Exactly. And the propaganda around people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, who are saying, oh, he's going to, Secretary Kennedy is going to take away your vaccines. That's absolutely false. If you are pro-vaccine and you want a particular vaccine that has been FDA approved, that has been now hopefully appropriately tested with placebo controls, all that needs to come, then nobody is going to take away that choice. I mean, all we're arguing for is for that choice and is for medical autonomy. I mean, you have two sons. You and your husband are the best experts in your kids.
Yes. I watched my child have a seizure post-vaccination after 6 hours of screaming. I looked that up in the Merck Pharmaceutical Handbook. I know that is encephalitis, swelling of the brain. No one can convince me that it's safe and effective when my 2-month-old almost died in my arms. No one. But if you still want to go ahead and do that, and you want to roll that dice with yours, and it's been studied properly, you go right ahead. But if we get to the point as a society where you no longer have authority over your body, it's game over. It is a freedom we'll never get back. Once we lose freedoms, we don't get them back without going to war. And even then, do we get it back? That's the last stand. Don't give up your body, decisions over your body to government. No, They work for
Right.
us. We don't work for them. We don't ask permission from them. They ask permission from us. They are our employees. We are the boss.
There's no wonder that you're speaking on university campuses across the nation, because this is the message that people need to hear. And this is the message that people need to hear from America's Mom. Talk about your experience. I mean, you've been to many college campuses, over the past, 18 months, 2 years. What has that been like?
It's been so incredible. It had never really dawned on me when I started going that I would have opposition there. I just didn't think of it that way. But a lot of people watched Good Luck Charlie. And I will say one thing about this generation, whether they're left or right, whether they've been spoon-fed a bunch of propaganda and Marxist cultural nonsense, or they see the truth, they are very passionate about what's going on in the world. And they see the need to get involved. Now, that alone gives me hope. But I went to Baylor University, and I guess some people had infiltrated. And an article came out at Baylor, and it was called "Keep Your Enemies Closer." And I thought, oh no, here we go again, right? And the article, much to my surprise, was talking about how human I seemed to everyone in that room, and how they had been, the other side had been painted to be so evil and so opposite. And what she realized is that we have so much more in common than what we disagree on. And she said, I left learning that I'll never judge a person from a 15-second TikTok clip.
That is so good. I remember when that came out, and I was so impressed. Number one, on the impact that you were having with people, just sitting, listening, and asking questions, getting your answers to those particular questions, having a dialogue. I mean, that's the type of thing that, it was modeled perfectly by Charlie, but I was so glad. And seeing America's Mom. I mean, if you haven't seen Good Luck Charlie, can you see that on Disney Plus? Do they still run those,
Yes,
or where can you see
those? I thought when I spoke out at that school board meeting for Our Freedoms, I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to take Good Luck Charlie off, but it trended to number one, so they kept it.
It's so I love, I fanboyed out when we met first in Nashville, because we had watched Good Luck Charlie just faithfully, while it was being actively produced by Disney. I think it started in 2006 or 7. I can't remember, but
I think it was 2010.
10. I'm sorry, I'm a little early on the game, but 2010, and we watched it, and then when it continued in rerun, I think that you had 5 seasons. Is that correct?
We had 4 seasons in a movie, but it took us 5 years to do it. Yeah.
Okay, because it was so good, so wholesome, and but I think so relevant. I mean, completely relevant. And so if you haven't seen Good Luck Charlie, if you haven't seen Leigh-Allyn Baker as America's Mom, you got to check it out, and you got to watch it, because it is, it's the type of TV that you can feel good about watching. You can feel good about your kids watching. And, it's almost like, despite some of the best efforts of censorship, America's Mom has continued to be able to be America's Mom, through this college tour.
And I want to point out too that if people want to go to Angel streaming, there is a show that I produced for young children called Iggy and Mr. Kirk, with Kirk.
Love it.
The star of it and an executive producer on it. And there is another show that was just released that is number one on Angel, A Week Away. And it's incredible. It is a musical, and it is so good.
Is that a series?
It is a series.
Tell us more, because I saw the clip from it. I saw one of the clips from it. It was so good.
It's so good. So A Week Away was a movie that was done a few years ago that was a huge hit on Netflix, and they decided to make it a series. And so I'm one of the series regulars on that series, and I encourage everyone to watch it. It's so good for all ages. The music is incredible. The dancing, phenomenal. The story is just so beautiful. And so please do that. And if you're not streaming Angel, which most people are now canceling Netflix and instead streaming Angel, They have incredible movies, incredible TV series, family friendly, and also adult content of like more serious subjects like war or historical biopics and things like that. Their content is just A plus. The production value is so good. If you follow me on Instagram or go to my Instagram, I have a link that you can click that will get everyone 30% off of Streaming Angel. So jump on board while you can, because this train has left the station and it's really doing some amazing things.
Angel Studios is doing such good work. I mean, there's so much good content, and this is set at a camp, right? Is this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize that it was musical. Do you get to sing?
Not in this one, but season 2, I've been like, you guys better give me a song in season.
Oh my goodness!
I'm gonna walk in
I've
the back
heard you sing. They need to have
on
you
everybody
sing.
else's songs.
Well, I'm excited then for season 2. We've just started streaming Angel. We were streaming PureFlix before that. And so this is something that you have to check out, a regular series. And you're already, is season 1 in the can already? Or
season 1 is in the can. It is out now. We did 7 episodes. I dare you not to cry, not to flinch, not to dance, not to smile. It's full of joy. It touches on all the emotions, and it is just an incredible story. So please give it a shot. You can even go to my socials and see some of the trailers. The music is so heartfelt. It's just really incredible. You know,
it's called A Week Away.
Called A Week Away, the series.
The series. Okay. No, that is so good. Are you working on any other projects? I think there's a movie afoot. Is that right?
So I wrote a Christmas movie, which is still in the works. But I'm now working on writing a series that really is based on my life and all that I've been through with all the things, from going from red carpets to potluck dinners in Tennessee, just a fish out of water story about this woman who was at the height of her game in Hollywood, then spoke up at a school board meeting, and now is starting life anew. It's got just like a little tinge of Sweet Home Alabama, a little tinge of Schitt's Creek in there. So it's really funny.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. That sounds absolutely amazing. And you're looking for production partners now, or
we have a production partner for that.
Oh my goodness.
We're kind of lined up and ready to go, and that too hopefully will be streaming on Angel.
Good. That's so exciting. What is it like being in the spotlight and you were marginalized? I mean, that was really, it was really, really difficult. I get marginalized on a small scale because I'm small scale. You got marginalized on a big scale. You are America's mom. What is it like, going back? I mean, are you able to maintain contacts with some of your friends in Hollywood or
it's interesting you ask that, because Bradley, who played Gabe, just got married to Candace Cameron Bure's daughter, Natasha Bure.
What?
Yes. And I went to the wedding. It was so beautiful. But you talk about nervous. Like, I was very marginalized, and by one person in the cast, like literally cut out of cast photos, unfollowed, tagging everyone but me. It's like my existence erased as far as.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And
that's dramatic.
I was very nervous going back, and I realized, I'm not the outlier here, and I was met with open arms. I was loved on. I was welcomed. It was a beautiful event. It was very hard for me. It was a few days after Charlie had been assassinated. And so my body was still in complete shock. I didn't know what I would be walking into. I dropped 6 pounds in a week just from sheer trauma.
Wow.
But I was so glad that I went, because, to celebrate love and a new union and life and walk down memory lane at that time. Turns out it was just what I needed. It was so good to see everyone. And there were even people there that would come up to me and say, I'm not a surprise from the Cameron family that they were supportive and loved that I worked for Turning Point and were supportive of honoring Charlie and all that everyone at TPUSA has been through. So I was in a very safe place. I'd become friends with Kirk doing Iggy and Mr.
Iggy,
Kirk.
right, exactly.
Really good friends with his mom. Like, I love Kirk's mom. And so for her to run up to me and hug me right when I showed up, and, of course, spoke boldly for Christ and for Charlie and everything that he stood for. So to She loved on me. Kirk's children loved on me. And it was actually turned out to be really a healing moment for me.
I'm so glad. I mean, we need you, Leigh-Allyn, in good hands. You're such, I'm going to go cry. You're such an amazing luminary for so many, and you speak out for these innocent children, especially. I mean, you didn't have to be public with your story. You don't have to be public with your son's vaccine injury, and doing that and going out on a limb where there's so much cost. I mean, there's so many forces against you. I mean, that's real bravery. That's real bravery. And so, hearing and you think of it like Kirk Cameron and Candace Cameron Bre's mom. I mean, she produced what DJ Tanner and what was his name? Mike Seaver. I can't remember. Yes. In the same family. She must be doing something right.
Yeah, she is. I just know that at the end of my life, I'm not going to sit around and say I should have done one more series. At the end of my life, I'm going to know I did all that I could to keep children safe and to sound the alarm when it went off in my own household to warn others. What they do with that information after that is up to them. But it's that kind of death and destruction is not going to be on my hands. I wash it clean of that. I will speak out the truth. Bravery is something I'm really, it's something I speak about. Mm-hmm. It's something that obviously watching my colleague take a bullet for speaking the truth has been very, I like to say my body is shaking. My body shakes, but I'm going to go forward anyway. And I want, if anyone out there is afraid, I want you to hear these words. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. Courage is being so scared that you shake and doing it anyway.
So good.
It is a muscle that needs to be exercised, and then you just use it.
You build so many bridges with what you do. And I think even in the context of this interview, if you're somebody that's on the fence, if you're like, well, I don't really listen to what she said. I mean, we need opposition. We need opposing viewpoints. If anything, we are arguing harder about not taking those away than we are on some type of MAGA or MAHA agenda. We want discourse. We want the court of public opinion. We want the town square of ideas. And when you said that, I was like, I wanted to highlight that. We should put that in like sub captions, really large or something with flames or something, something big, something Hollywood.
Yeah, we need opposition. We need our voices to be heard. I don't look at this world the same way that other people do. I don't look at it as this against that. I want to build bridges and stand in that gap. And I am on team we the people. I am not on team tiny 1% of global elite that want to control us. I'm not on their team. I'm on our team. I just view it very differently.
I can't thank you enough. And again, we pray for your safety. If you're listening, please pray for Leigh-Allyn as she goes and she's speaking at these venues. You're part of the TPUSA family. Our hearts and prayers go out to all of them for the loss of, this wonderful luminary, Charlie Kirk, when he was only 31 years old. I mean, I'm 62. That's like half. That really hits home. But where else can people follow you? Angel Studios, you got to be streaming Angel. Where else can people get you on social?
Look me up, Leigh-Allyn Baker on Instagram. I'm the one with the little blue check mark. There's a lot of fake ones. Mine is like L_A_Baker_13 because everyone else had taken my name by the time I got on social media. I also have a TikTok that's doing really well. I have a YouTube channel where we're posting some of my videos. I'm getting ready to start with a podcast where I hit these, things that I really was thrust into that I didn't want to speak about. Now I feel compelled to speak about. my truth on all the subjects, and that where no subject is off limits, to so that people can hear what I actually think and not assume. A lot of society now assumes by association, but when that assumption is based on false narratives and lies, then it becomes a pretty dangerous, I think we can see. So please follow me on my socials, Instagram, Twitter, all of them. You can look me up and find me there.
So good. And go back and look at the episodes of Good Luck, Charlie. Amy Duncan, America's Mom. So funny. Oh, my goodness. They were absolutely hilarious. And so, Leigh-Allyn, thank you so much for joining us. As we go into this fall, I think of Tennessee, are the leaves changing yet, or is it too early?
Yes, they're starting, and it's beautiful.
Okay, we'll have a wonderful fall, and you are always a friend to us. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Brian. You're one of my dearest friends. I'll get on with you anytime. You know how to hit me up directly. I think the best thing about our meeting that time at the Truth About Cancer was that I saw you and I was fangirling over you. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Brian Kirk. And you were like, Amy Duncan. I was like, what kind of weird universe am I living on where this man knows me? That was such a gift to me and a blessing. And I'm so grateful for your friendship, and anything you need from me, you got it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking for those flights to Nashville. I really, really am.
Yes. Well, you can stay with me.
Thank you so much, Leigh-Allyn, and stay safe. We love you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for this important, spread the word, this important episode of Doctors and Scientists.
That was when he was sick. Well, here, this is right before he got his MMR.
Are you on camera?
Where do you want me to be? Yeah, we're live.
Are you live? Okay.
Oh,
so do you want to type on your name?
Okay, my name is Diana Schaefer.
And you're going to tell the story of your... How many children have you got?
I have 2 children. I'm going to try not to use their names.
And this is the picture of your son before he had his
MMR.
See that?
See it?
Yeah, so I'm not sure where to start.
So tell us about leading up to the MMR. How was it?
Well, I think both of my children are actually vaccine injured. My daughter, she's 2.5 years older, and she was constantly sick, constant ear infections, ended up with tubes the whole bit, and then she was eventually diagnosed with asthma, which she still is working through it today, but it's not life-threatening asthma. We were from Dripping Springs, Texas, which is very close to Austin, and we saw Dr. Thomas Dawson, who vaccinated all of his patients early, not to the schedule, but actually early.
And did he say why he did that?
No.
Well, you have no explanation whatsoever, but that was just the thing.
That's just the way that he did it. I remember my son was fully vaccinated. He got the Hep B at birth and all that stuff. When he was born, he was very first born. He latched perfectly. He was able to feed. Everything was fine, and he was fully vaccinated. He ended up with some wheezing. He was prescribed albuterol when he was just a few weeks old. The pharmacy made an error, and it turned out that I was giving him 10 times the dose that he should have got at least, and I ran out and called for a refill, and the doctor said, what? Shouldn't be needing a refill, and I completely overdosed this kid on albuterol. And my doctor's main concern, Dr. Dawson's main concern, was to show me that the error was in fact the pharmacy's and not his error, because he had pre-painted prescription forms for albuterol that had the dose on it, and I should have questioned at that time, why in the world does this doctor have pre-printed forms, prescription forms for albuterol? Why would he need to do that? He must be writing scripts of this like crazy. And going to doctor's visits in his office was going to a freak show. These poor children in that waiting room, there was every kind of low tone, delay, and why it didn't occur to me, I don't know. I mean, it's embarrassing because I was a scientist. I mean, I worked designing and running and evaluating scientific experiments, and I just trusted that they had data for what they were doing, and they didn't. And when I found out they didn't, I was horrified. So anyways, my son was constantly sick, and we went for his MMR, the 12-month shots, which includes...
And this is, you went for the MMR shot with the doctor that likes to give things early.
Right, so my son hadn't even turned 1 yet. And I remembered that his birthday party was like the next day, his first birthday party, and so I was kind of concerned about not wanting to give shots to make him sick for his birthday. How ridiculous. And we'd gone into the...
Isn't that ironic? You were concerned that you didn't want to give him shots to make him sick for his birthday.
Well,
what
yeah.
You thinking there?
Like, what the hell
to
is
make the
wrong
kids
with
better,
you?
not make them sick.
Pardon my
Anyway,
language.
moving on, Cal.
Yeah, right? Well, and that we'd done more research on, on circumcision than we had on vaccinations, but I really had no clue that they were going to give him a vaccine in the hospital, which they did. And apparently we signed for it. It was checked in, we weren't...
Hang on, hospital, we were going back to his birth.
Yeah. So, okay.
Let's go back to the MMR day.
So, he got the full meal deal for what they did for 12 months. He got MMR, he got varicella, and what else? I don't remember them all. I don't know if there's another... Anyways, he got them all. And so and I was concerned because I thought he was feverish, and I complained about it to Dr. Dawson. And instead of feeling my child, making sure that he felt well, he looked in the chart to see what temperature the nurse had written down instead of looking. And so the nurse had written a normal temperature, but he in fact was running a fever. And so the next day at the birthday party or whatever, I had this screaming, inconsolable child who wasn't interested in the pony, wasn't interested in anything, and I spent the whole day in the bedroom trying to console him while we had a house party supposedly for his birthday. And from that point, things got progressively worse. I didn't keep a lot of pictures from that time, but here's one that I have that you can see.
It's a spaced out look.
And he just wasn't well. And immediately, so after he'd had the bad experience with the shots, obviously I didn't buy those. I'm not sure where I kept them. I really don't have very many
why? I know I was like you. People were saying, why don't you take pictures of Billy, more pictures when he was that sick? Because he was sick, and it made me mad that he was like that.
So I
why would you take photos or video it?
I haven't been brave enough to look at the videos that we have. We've got lots and lots of video of him basically getting worse and worse and worse. He did things that now we know were giant red flags, but we just thought, oh, how clever he is. Like, he had a train set, loved the trains, would lay down on the floor so we could watch the wheels on the bus spin. He was fascinated with the lights. He would line up his toes. He would stack things, and he would put things together. But we would be like, oh, look how smart he is, because he would make these intricate patterns of everything. So things got worse. And so after the reaction, we left Dr. Dawson's
Did Dr.
practice.
Dawson ever say, yes, vaccine?
No, we didn't go to him. And in fact, and I'm not going to say the child's name, there was a little girl who lived across the street who was my children's first babysitter. And she was also one of Dr. Dawson's patients. And she had an asthma attack and died when she was 13. And I remember being at her funeral with my little girl running around while I was packing the grant. But she was, and that child had somebody in her home who was trained to give her emergency first response, and we did, but she didn't make it. And I think that's Dr. Anyways, so then we left him and we went to another pediatrician, and at that time, like, I'd heard about Dr. Wakefield's study, but I only thought that the problem may be MMR. So we didn't continue with MMR, but we still continued to vaccinate. And I had told my doctor, look, I'll do it, but we're going to do them one at a time. And excuse
And
me.
you're at a new doctor now, we're still with Dawson.
We left Dawson.
Okay, so we're done with Dawson and we moved on to another one who's... So even when you told them that your child had a bad reaction to the MMR, they wouldn't say, you know, better stay off it than
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't have. I mean, and he was running quite a Chicago, right? I mean, he'd vaccinate the kids, and then the kids would come in for antibiotics, and I can remember when my son would go in for antibiotics, and both of my kids, round after round after round of antibiotics, and I would always ask them, well, you know, why aren't you doing any tests to make sure you've killed it, like whatever it is, like, my son had to go, I mean, he even had like a head x-ray from sinus infections. His infections had gotten so bad. So we changed to a new doctor. The new doctor asks us to do, so we did like early childhood intervention, ECI. So we qualified for that. So somebody would come to the house, and they really didn't do anything with him. He was in speech therapy, he was in occupational therapy. None of those things really had much for results. And so then we'd gone to the new doctor. I started researching things, and this was in the days we didn't have Facebook yet. We had Yahoo groups, and I had managed to find, somehow I met a woman who had multiple chemical sensitivities and who was very, very ill, and she put me in touch with the moms who were like the early biomed moms in Austin. And we had Yahoo groups back in that day, and I was like, okay, what do I do, you know? And all the moms were like, what, well, all this stuff, but you have to do it one at a time, and I said, okay, whatever. And I was still talking to the doctor, to my new doctor, trying to say, like, well, what about this, or what about that? And, he was like, well, none of that will help, don't waste your time and money. And I left his office, and I thought, well, it's my time and my money, and if I want to make diet changes, like, how could that be hurtful? And I basically left his office, and I had started, all the things that the other moms told me to do. I'd started all of them, even though they said do it Wednesday, Tuesday. I started them all, and Thoughtful House had just opened up in Austin, and Dr. Wakefield was there, and Dr. Jepson was there, Dr. Kreisman was there, and so my son was seen by Dr. Jepson, and Dr. Jepson took one look at him and said, wow, his belly is distended, this is a problem, I want to get an x-ray. And I can remember my husband was like, oh, why isn't he like feeling like, he didn't like touch my son or anything, he just mostly talked to us. My husband was like, what? And I said, well, let's take him for this x-ray. So we take him for the x-ray, and my son's bowels were impacted. At this point, he's 4. And before I had taken him to, I'm sorry, I'm circling all the way back around, I'm kind of nervous. Before I had taken him, I forgot what it is he was saying.
So he was 4.
So he was 4, and
well, look, the main thing is, how is he today? How's he doing now?
Fine.
You've got a nice, can you show us that lovely picture that you showed me? The one with his sister.
Yeah. So he's in high school. He's been gone most of the summer. He's been at sleepaway camp for most of last month.
So he's doing really, really, really well.
What I was going to tell you is, like, so when I went to the new doctor, the new pediatrician, he had told me, there's my kids.
Check out how well he looks now. So a good diet and various other things.
Right. Okay, so when I had taken him, we changed doctors, and the new doctor straight away wanted me to take my son to a neurologist. And I made the appointment, and he was 18 months old at the time, but the appointments were 6 months out. And I thought, well, how kind of much of an emergency can this be? I don't really know that I want to pursue. I thought, what is he going to do? Put him on psych meds? That's not what I want. And so I would make the appointment and cancel it. And then the doctor would fuss at me, and I'd make another appointment. This one would be 8 months out, and they would cancel it. And so, anyways, Dr. Jepson had taken the x-rays of my son, said his bowels were impacted. I took him home to deal with that. My son, and I'll embarrass him if he watches this, but my son spoke his first sentence, which was, "Thanks for getting all that out of me, Mom." He said it twice. He clogged the facilities. He was very, very constipated, and I had no idea, because, once you don't have to deal with your kid's bathroom, you don't deal with it, and so I didn't know, because he was potty trained and everything. And so I took him back to his new pediatrician after he'd been seen by Dr. Jepson for a little while, and the new pediatrician's chin hit the floor, and he said, "What have you done to this child?" And I said, "Everything you told me not to try." And so that's what happened. So my son was going into the first grade, and we moved up here, and I was going to law school too. I figured out in my mind that it seemed to me that the autism was really a legal problem, that it was the 1986 legislation that was a problem, and also that it was environmental. And so I was studying environmental law, studying law, and then my son's vaccine injury ended up causing a couple of legal problems for my family. And can you see the picture first?
Yes.
This is the picture. Here's the picture when I knew he was well. I'll show you. Is this picture when I knew we had him back, for sure. And he was 5. And we took him for a neuropsych eval and everything, and the evaluator told us that she was shocked that he was a kid that had ever been told that he had problems, and he was doing quite well.
Well done. Are you going to come and sign his name on the bus?
I am, but I wanted to also, there's some more to my story I think I want to mention a little bit and ask. I don't know if somebody on Periscope, I just want to ask because, so you know about the Utah whistleblower?
Yes, it's just standing right over there.
Yeah. And so my son was involved in some research that we later learned didn't have IRB approval through the U. And as part of their efforts to minimize to the public what's going on with autism, which I think is an awful term. I think it's a made-up word to disguise the fact that the kids are in fact medically ill and environmentally injured. The University of Utah, they knew that my son actually in fact had been diagnosed as mercury toxic and treated for it, and my son was involved with this research. They had been describing the children as half with learning disabilities, and he does, last we had him evaluated, he did have like dysgraphia or, some kind of things going on, but as time goes on and as we continue healing him, all of his lifelong can't cure disabilities have disappeared. And the University of Utah did a press release to the local papers, and without our knowledge or consent, our son's picture was put in the paper as the week the kids were going back to school after Sandy Hook, and they put under his picture his name, who has autism, and I just wanted, so I'm suing over it. The attorneys are have gotten the Utah. I'm losing my train of thought. The Utah Disability Law Center to argue against me, that they think would be an awful thing to consider, that it's defamatory to call a kid autistic. But this was like the week after the kids were going back to Sandy Hook, and people here especially were terrified. Kids were bringing guns to school because they were afraid of autistic kids here. That had been in the papers. And so, I see it really as a civil rights matter and a parental rights matter, because I think it infringes on these kids' rights to take something that's a medical illness.
So are you asking people to help you? Are you asking?
Well, I'm asking. Okay, well, so for the Periscope people, I just want to say, is that offensive to you that somebody would fight over that? Do I have your support in that? My family's been through a lot, and I don't want to. I don't want to try to charge a fight for people who don't feel like it's their fight. Is it a problem? Do you think that kids are being forced to take a diagnosis in order for them to get any help? That's usually like a gateway to services. I think that it precludes them from being treated for their medical problems. And so, I'm just curious if anybody is.
How can people contact you then?
So my email address is Diana, Diana, .s.Schaffer, SCHAFFER @gmail.com. And I'm just interested in if other people think that's a big deal, or I don't know, Patrick's.
All right. Yeah, share your thoughts, guys.